Hello folks, I'm Zars, and today I'll be breaking down the Gaza's kit, providing tips and combos, and at the end there will be a gameplay clip to show. First of all, let's cover the weapons. Its first weapon is the Gaza Knuckle Buster. This is your bread and butter weapon for dealing high ranged burst damage and build up stun to combo with your other weapons. You can fire 2 shots uncharged, or 1 shot plus an uncharged shot before overheating. Uncharged has a very high heat rate compared to the Gaza's Knuckle Buster at 60%, but that it doesn't overheat from charged shots, which is honestly pretty fantastic compared to how the Gaza's Knuckle Buster overheats immediately on charge. And it's very hard to continue fighting in a heated team fight, and you can't really contribute much after that. But the Gaza's Knuckle Buster is definitely better in that regard. Allows you to have more flexibility in spacing out your shots, stunning multiple players over time. The charge time is alright at 3.5 seconds, but it makes up for it with the frequency at which you can fire it. Because by the time that you fully focus, maybe you'll wait an extra second or two, and then you'll be able to fire another charge shot without overheating. The stagger value for the Knuckle Buster is 45% uncharged and 60% for charged. The second weapon is its Beam Saber, which has a really high base damage for it's 450, 2200 damage, and it's got the regular fading pattern. Its significance will be elaborated on more once we get to the skills. But now, its third weapon is the 4-tube missile launcher ×2. These will usually be your main follow-up after a mid-range charged Knuckle Buster shot, as they deal decent damage and travel quite fast. They only have 5% stagger rate per missile, at which you can fire 2 at once, resulting in a total of 40% stagger accumulation. Not a bad weapon by any means, but it leaves a bit to be desired in the damage department for how little utility it offers, really. Its fourth weapon is the 8-tube missile launcher ×2, and this is a very versatile weapon due to its high stagger rate at 15% ×2, resulting in a 240% stagger accumulation if you hit all 8 volleys, although you'll generally be stunning after 4 volleys of this weapon. It's got good range at 400, but low damage, so this is quite a good option for staying on the high ground and just peppering down an area where your teammates are to try and get a very quick stun on an enemy that they may be fighting to help them out, or to stun a boosting general or a raid with maneuver armor to allow an easy setup for your saber downswing at close range. Now to the mobile armor weapons, and in the mobile armor it shares most of the weapons such as the Knuckle Buster and the 8-tube. However, it provides a separate transformation version of the 4-tube that is weaker by about 50 damage, 50 damage less than the mobile suit, but it's got 100 more range, which is admittedly very nice. However, these missiles only do 1% stagger, so it's probably best to avoid using these most of the time, as you'll most likely want to be spending your time in the maneuver armor and your thrusters using the mega particle cannons in the claws or the legs. Speaking of that, I'll skip over the beam gun and quickly go to the cannons in the legs. These are easily this suit's second best weapon, as they deal high base damage and fire 2 beams at once. Both of which can stun similar to how the Viability beams work. It doesn't overheat immediately, so after the 3-second cooldown, you can fire it again. 450 range as well is really nice, and even better is the 45% ×2 stagger accumulation, which totals 90% and can stun flying suits immediately out of the air, and can combo nicely into an allied stagger or your own uncharged Knuckle Buster shot. You definitely want to be using this whenever you transform, no questions asked. The final weapon on this suit is the twin beam gun, which is a familiar sight to see on a Gaza unit. and compared to the Gaza C's version, these beam guns are not bad, even though they can only fire 4 shots instead of the Gaza C's 13. The ranges are the same, and the D's base damage is a bit higher by probably about, I'm gonna hazard a guess at maybe 75 more damage. The stagger percentage is only 5% times 2, equaling in 40% total, which is a bit disappointing, honestly. But it's whatever, really. It'll be your common follow-up after you use your leg cannons, while you wait for the cooldown on the leg cannons to end. And yeah, that's it for the weapons. Here is a build if you would like. Just a build with a lot of HP, you know, a lot of damage and some extra thrusters. It really just fills in all of the nice wee gaps and, you know, builds upon the Gaza D's strengths nicely. My overall verdict of the weapons is an 8 out of 10. It's got some very lackluster choices in the beam guns and the 4-tube missiles, but it's easily made up for in the spammable and hard-hitting Knucklebuster, the strong beam saber, which lends itself nicely into the Gaza D's skill set, and as well as the fast-stunning 8-tube missiles that provide you a lot of team support and versatility and setup for your own stuns and attacks, and as well as the damage and utility capabilities of the leg cannons. Moving on to the skills for the Gaza D, we have a standard dodge roll, as you would expect for a general, leg shock absorber level 3, which is definitely a very welcome sight to see for a suit that it will be constantly transforming. You'll constantly be landing on the ground, and this just helps to make sure that your legs aren't constantly just taking a beating, and you can afford to transform and move off of platforms and perform force injector dashes if needed without your legs just crumbling. And new to the Gaza units is the melee combo controller 1, and combined with the 2200 damage beam saber that the Gaza D has, as well as the Federation moveset that it has. I may have said Fade-in moveset, that's not correct, it's a Federation pattern for its melee, which is really good, and of course, you know, 2200 damage, you know, it adds up. It's definitely nothing to roll your eyes at, especially for a shooter general like the Gaza D. It's got balancers, which is also a new skill for the Gaza units. It enables more defensive options like ghost tackling, as well as enabling melee and tackle follow-up for your Knucklebuster and your 8-tube missiles when you're on the ground. Yeah, just brilliant, really brilliant inclusion. Ambak as standard for a space-capable suit. It's got force injectors, which is shared with the Gaza C, really just gives you more movement options. It's got a level 2 shoulder buffer and a level 2 back buffer, which is pretty standard for Gaza units, because they tend to have just large weapons or just large shoulders, just something large, you know, hanging off the side of them. So the extra damage reduction really does help. I think unlike the Gaza C, the Gaza C doesn't have a high performance scope. Seems a bit pointless though, because the Gaza D is going to be a more more mobile general than the Gaza C, where, you know, with the Gaza C you just want to sit down with precision shelling and fire a Knucklebuster shot and just nuke somebody down in the legs and then transform and chase after them. This seems a bit weird considering that you're never really going to be scoping in with the Gaza D, but it's whatever really. It's got flight system, as you would expect, with a Gaza unit. We'll get to the flight skills after this last skill here, which is an air dash, and the Gaza C does not have this. This is also just a really good general skill. It gives you better maneuvering options for the air. If you end your transformation prematurely and you still have thrusters left, you can correct your direction a bit easier and have a bit more flexibility with where exactly you land after a transformation. So overall it's just really good. And now let's go to the skills and transformation, and it's really got all your bog standard transformation skills, you know, your dodge roll, the anti-blast, the shock dampeners, the buffers, flight to transform back, and it's got a ram attack. I believe it has a weaker ram attack than most other transformation units. I think it shares it in the, you know, in the low damage band alongside the Gaza C, and I think the Gat Plant and the Ashimar, where you only do 1500 and it goes up to 1600 in the level 2 version. So it's really, you know, it's whatever, it's fine. You'll mostly just be doing this at the end if you're nearby somebody and have very little thrusters left. No harm in just boosting into them, using up your thrusters, get a stun, get the damage. Yeah, so it's just fine. And that's it for the Gaza D skills. My overall verdict, I would say it's an 8 out of 10. Compared to the Gaza C, it's got 3 great general skills in the balancers, melee combo, and the air dash. These give the suit a greater frontline presence and open up its suite of plays that it can make, because, you know, it is primarily like a mid-range shooter, but, you know, you've got the strong melee. You can charge up the Knuckle Buster, go in for a close range stun, go for the 8 tube into a neutral downswing, and kind of play about with that, really. Yeah, it's just a really nice suite of skills, and I don't believe many other suits at 450 have the flight control program. I believe it's the Garibaldi Beta, the Hymo Garibaldi Alpha, and I believe there's probably, you know, a few more that I can't remember off the top of my head, but oh, Barzam, yeah, Barzam. But overall, yeah, good skill set. Can't really complain with it. And now, let's get started with the Gaza D's combos. And there's not much to cover here, really. It's quite simple how the combos will work. But the first combo that we're going to go over is a decent range combo that is easy enough to follow up on. You charged Knuckle Buster into your 4 tube missiles, and yeah, that's it. You know, nothing more to it. It's pretty decent, does a decent amount of damage. And now we'll move on to another combo that you can do in the close range, which is either to charge Knuckle Buster into downswing, or you can 8 tube into downswing. Really just comes down to the game state which one is more optimal, but both can work. The 8 tube just requires a bit more work to get it going, because you have to guide your aim, and usually it'll be 1, 2, 3, and then another. So for half of the clip, really, with the missiles will stun and allow you to go into the downswing. But the Knuckle Buster is probably more reliable. We'll now move back, and I will show off some transformation combos you can do. So the first one you can do is charge Knuckle Buster into chain stun with the leg cannons, into beam guns, into legs, into tackle, or ram attack even. And as you can see, that dealt a lot of damage to the general types. To supports, they can't dodge roll, so it's easier to bully them, but to raids it will absolutely melt them, especially because those leg claws have a total of 90% stagger accumulation, which is really good. But if you want to, if you're running out of thrusters, or if you would rather get the leg cannons off more frequently, you can simply just transform leg cannons into beam gun, into Knuckle Buster uncharged, into leg cannon, into tackle, and really that'll be it. That'll deal a lot of damage as well. Just depends on your preference and if you have enough thrusters left, but yeah, that is the end of the combos. Alright, let's get started with this unscripted gameplay segment. As you can see, I've got my Gaza D in Glemmy faction colours from Gearon's Greed, I believe it is, anyway. But anyway, let's get started. This is going to be live commentary for the script, and hopefully this gameplay will provide some nice insights into this suit's abilities. As you can see, standard fare for transforming suits on Arctic base, especially the shooters, is to go onto one of the high platforms and shoot down from above to try and get a bit of an HP advantage, and then to build up on that and try to get a pick. I don't think I would have been able to get that kill there on the heavy type D, even if I was able to get a downswing and wasn't stunned. But it's no problem. We have a nice bit of damage there. Managed to get a bit of space from
you can shrug that off.
the
Damage
enemy.
is building up. Watch yourself. Enemy mobile suit destroyed.
Got some nice damage off on that Mudrock. Gonna fly away, reposition, and try to pick off whoever's over there. It's an Alex and a Desert Gelgoog.
An ally has
Decided not
destroyed
to
an enemy
fight
mobile
them
suit.
2-on-1 because getting close to the Desert Gelgoog with that arm buster is definitely not a very good idea.
The enemy's captured a
So
beacon.
let me just get a wee
Enemy
pick off
mobile
there.
suit destroyed.
Then I get it, managed to help on my ally. Alex is off in the distance. Mess with the missiles, unfortunately.
An ally has
And
destroyed
the Alex pilot
beacon
has gotten out and tried to capture a point, but just managed to get the
Enemy
missiles
soldier
up.
eliminated.
The 8 tube, or the 4 tube. I think it was the 4 tube, and just in the nick of time managed to kill him there. Getting back into mobile armor mode, trying to reposition, getting shot at by Mudrock.
Eject.
Unfortunately, I hit shield with the leg cannon, so it didn't stun him. And go for a knuckle buster shot. I was too impatient, and I missed the shot, and I died because of it. So probably a lesson to be learned is in those very critical moments where you've only got about a second or two to act, probably best to take your time.
Fire incoming.
And here we go, here's a combo that I was talking about in the previous segments with transformation. You just saw how quickly that, well not quickly, but how effortlessly, the Mudrock was taken out by the Knuckle Buster, leg cannon, beam gun, leg cannon combo. I think I threw out some transformed 4 tube missiles. Weren't really necessary. Here's a Camphor. Nearly took him out there. Took him out with the missiles. A nice wee finisher. It kind of acts like the Vulcans on other mobile suits because the Gaza D doesn't have Vulcans, but those missiles do act as a very high-powered burst alternative to Vulcans, which are very good at finishing people off. Unfortunately, I probably could have killed that heavy type D there, and we wouldn't get into a clashing battle if I had a bit more thruster left, which is why I do like to emphasize the importance of having thruster or better thruster management on your transformable suits that do rely on the transformation, like the Gaza C, the Gaza D, the Hildol for assault gun tank.
We've lost an allied unit.
Perhaps there's a few more at the higher cost for mobile suits that do rely on their transformations a bit more than others. Gapfully, perhaps, because if anyone is watching this who has played the Gapfly, you'll probably recognize how similar the Gaza D's leg cannons are to the Gapfly's shoulder cannons when transformed, because they got buffed a while back, where one of the changes was the heat rate going from 100% to 95%, and that is exactly how the Gaza D's leg cannons are.
Your mobile suit has been
So they
destroyed.
serve a similar purpose. Unfortunately, there's not much I could do there against an Alex with the height advantage. I didn't really have an angle, didn't really have the HP on him, so it was probably best just die there and respawn. Transforming back here. Some very, very nice damage on the Desert Gelgug. Not the cleanest finish, but I'll take it. I will take it. Camper comes along, gets a nice meaty downswing in. I think I am running my melee resistance build on the Gaza D, so it could have been quite a lot worse. Unfortunately, the Gym Free did catch me with his heavy attack, but luckily I do get saved just in the nick of time by my friendly Galbeta, so that was nice, because otherwise I probably would have died, especially with that damage that that Mud Rocket just dealt to me there. I don't think I would have survived. Got off a nice bit of damage on that Desert Gelgug. I do tend to stick on this guy quite a lot, understandably, because type advantage, doing a lot of burst damage, similar to how you'll just play the Gaza C, except the Gaza C is just more of a support general that excels at just nuking down raids. And here we have for Mudrock as well. Oh, yet again even. And caught by a side swing, downswing. Unfortunately for him, managed to finish him off there with tap fire. Very good. And we're approaching the end of the game. Getting in some nice chip damage. Good downswing. Finish off the heavy type D with the downswing, and that will be the end of the game. So, my final thoughts on the Gaza D. Definitely a strong shooter general with great melee capabilities, especially in the damage department, compared to the full armored Gundam ground type, where it uses its downswing and melee combos for utility. Generally, the Gaza D plays like a Gaza C, but as I'd mentioned, with less raid murdering potential, and serves better as a mid-range to close-range shooting frontline suit, with plenty of tools to help its team, or to help itself rack up some big damage numbers. It does take some time to get used to, especially if you're not comfortable with the Gaza C yourself, or transformable heavy suits in general, so I would probably pass on pulling for this on the banner if you're not willing to commit to learning this suit, and would prefer simpler and more vanilla generals, like the Alex or the Galbeta. And that's it for the Gaza D breakdown. Thank you for listening. This is my first breakdown style video, and I can't guarantee any more of its kind after this, but if you did enjoy this video, please let me know on YouTube, whatever you've seen this video pop up. Some feedback for myself going forward would be to pick up a mic that isn't as sensitive to ambient static, which you've probably heard in this video, so I apologise for that, but definitely going forward I'll look into getting a new mic. Anyways, cheers for watching this video folks, and I'll see you all around whenever.